Hello and welcome to MCPSS Athletics. My name is Calvin Chris, Athletic Director for Mobile County Public Schools. In studio today we have Ron Lee, the Athletic and Compliance Director for the Mobile County Public Schools. And we'll be back with Coach Lee after this break.
Diesel is a very big industry, and I went into it in a 2-year program at the Bryant Career Tech with Tony Tillman.
When Jacob graduated from the Bryant Career Center, he had earned his diesel credential.
The Career Technical Center taught me a lot, all the way from not knowing anything about a motor or engine to knowing pretty much every single moving part of them.
MCPSS Career Tech. Start your future today.
The quality of education that I received from the Mobile County Public School System really prepared me for global success. Being an international opera singer, I get to travel all across the world. And one of the most important aspects about that is being able to communicate and work with people. And the Mobile County Public School System really equipped me to be greatly successful worldwide.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Let's switch to Energy Star light bulbs and stop burning through cash. Saving energy saves you money.
Welcome back. We're happy to have today Mr. Ron Lee, the Athletic and Compliance Director for Mobile County Public Schools. Ron, appreciate you coming back.
I'm glad to be here.
You want to tell us a little bit about your tenure? You've been in the system quite a few years, and what brings you this far?
Well, I have been in the system a while, and it's been a great time. I've been in education for 28 years, and have taught at numerous places in Mobile County, and wound up at Murphy. And at that point in time, I felt like some of the younger guys needed to step in and take over there, and was given the opportunity to come to central office, and I've really enjoyed working with the coaches in Mobile County.
Coach, you want to tell us a little bit about your job? And remember, it's only a 30-minute show, so you tell a little bit. I mean, it wasn't what you signed up for exactly, right?
No, it wasn't. There's been a few curveballs thrown along the way, but for me, it's been a tremendous learning scale. You know, I do, as you know, think that athletics is growing at a rapid pace now throughout the country, and with us being a very large system, we have to keep up. And you have done a tremendous job with athletics in Mobile County for all these years, and the chance to come and help and just be there for you has been a lot of fun for me. But working with the middle schools has been one of the most rewarding things probably. It's an area that I'd never gotten involved with as a high school coach and athletic director, but that is our feeders. That's the lifeline of our high schools and being successful. So I've enjoyed getting to know the middle school principals as well as the middle school coaches, and of course it's always good to see my high school buddies, you know, not just in football but in volleyball and softball and soccer. It's a lot of wonderful relationships have been made.
Yes. Coach, first thing we want to talk about today is our classification system. It changed somewhat this year. You want to talk a little bit about that? Oh,
it has. With the 7A coming in, it is going to give some of the other schools an opportunity to get into a playoff system. Their school may or may not have been. The realistic fact of the new scheduling with 7A is the schools are still playing each other. We are still playing the same people that they've been playing. You know, it's not that it made it easier for anyone. What it has opened the door for more teams to get into the playoffs and for their schools to be promoted in athletics.
Let's start with our 5A, which is the lowest classification that we have. So let's talk a little bit about our 5A schools.
Well, with BC Rain, they're coming right on strong.
Also, we've got Viger and Williamson in there. That's a pretty tough area when you look at it. It really is.
With Escambia County, Fate, Jackson, St. Paul's, Viger, Williamson. Once again, all those schools have been playing each other. It's not that somebody gets thrown to the lines or that there's just a school sitting there saying we can beat everybody.
Right.
I don't think that's true. Viger is a powerhouse, and they will play 7As week in and week out. They're certainly not backing down. Williamson has some of the best athletes in town. I think it becomes a numbers game, you know, as far as where can you compete based on the numbers you have in your school.
That's true. Continuing with 5A, I don't know, let's see, 5A Region 2, I think there's a few schools. I don't think we have anybody in that area.
No.
So let's move on to 6A. That's a tough area there now. That is one of the toughest in the state. I mean, there's some hardcore football played in that region.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody would want to jump off in there. I mean, when you start talking about going up against the likes of LaFleur and a Blunt and a Citronelle and a Saraland and Spanish Fort and Daphne, I mean, all those schools could compete at any level that's out there. And they have. You know, Daphne has won state championships. LaFleur has played for state championships. Back when Coach Johnson was there, they made it to the semis. Blunt, oh my goodness, how many rings can you have that has a Blunt high school championship on it? So even back with Citronelle with Coach Massey and the days that he has. So, you know, none of those schools are going to take a back seat to anybody. It doesn't matter if how many A's you have behind that or in front of it. There's some really good football being played at those schools.
I think the sad part of that region there is there's going to be some teams that will not make the playoffs that maybe if they were in another region could possibly make the playoffs.
Well, that is true. You know, if you look at the fact that Blunt, how many years have Blunt been in the playoffs consistently? And now they're in there with some schools that are not just making the playoffs, but are going deep in the playoffs. So everybody in that 6A region is going to have to be at their absolute best on Friday nights. There are no off nights. You can't have a bad night and expect to go far in that region.
And again, as you mentioned earlier, some of those 6As have already played 7As and won. So we're not talking about teams that can just compete in 6A. They can compete with anybody.
Right.
So and they do. They pick up during their off weeks, their non-region weeks. They'll come in and play a 7A, and they can compete with anybody. So it's a tough area. Okay, moving out to our next areas, our 7A, again, a very tough area in our region, and I think there will be some good teams here that will stay in home for the playoffs. It
is absolutely incredible what has happened with the creation of this 7A. It's the 32 largest schools in the state, you know, with the largest grades 10 through 12, with the largest being Hoover, naturally, and they're at 1,978 students, and that 7A region goes all the way down to James Clements, which is a new add, that with 1,008 students. So there's a pretty good discrepancy when you start talking about student bodies grade 10 through 12 there. But right on the other hand, numbers do have something to do with your play, but only 11 can play at a time out there.
That's true.
And it comes down to which school can stay injury-free, which school has the lineman that's going to block for those running backs, or the skill people that's going to catch. And these are varied. You're going to have some that are gun teams and throw it a lot. You're going to have some that they're going to line up in an eye and come at you. So the style of play varies from school to school, but my goodness, the Bakers, which is on a roll right now, Davidson is playing that top-notch ball. Mary Montgomery is putting up a fight. They give Murphy everything they wanted. There's not an easy team on that schedule right there.
It's really not. Week in and week out, you're going to have to play hard. Coach, you've been out during the summer and working with these people. Let's just go down this 7A list here and talk about our coaches at our Mobile County Public Schools, starting with Bryant.
Well, Coach Breland is doing a remarkable job at Bryant. You know, they have started off with, as I know quite well, losing your quarterback to injuries, and that is definitely part of high school ball. You know, that's going to slow them down a little bit, but defensively they're playing well right now. I thought they played I had the opportunity to watch them play Foley the other night and thought that they did a remarkable job. You know, as far as slowing Foley's offense down. Defensively, they're playing sound. Offensively, up front, Coach Breland's done a tremendous job, he and his coaching staff, of preparing his team to run the football. So they're going to continue to improve as the season goes on.
And Coach French out at Baker, of course, done a wonderful job. Just turned it around completely.
Well, yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's been coaching ever since they started the game. Coach French is a great guy and has done a tremendous job at Baker, and I do think that was a good fit. You know,
Right.
and hiring coaches, you want it to be a good fit for the community and for the team and for the other coaches. And Coach has been around. He's been every program he's been, they were successful. He knows how to build. He knows how to motivate. And currently, with their numbers, when you start talking about numbers, Baker's numbers have jumped, and they're starting to get some of the athletes that they might not have played with in the past.
Right. Well, Coach, we're going to take a little break here for some commercials, and then we'll come back to the rest of our teams. We'll be back in just a second.
Nonviolence will start with me.
Nonviolence will start with me.
All across the Mobile County public school system, students are taking the pledge.
I pledge to accept the responsibility of my actions.
To solve problems peacefully.
Respect myself and others.
The 100 Days of Nonviolence Pledge. It's an initiative to help explore alternative means of stopping violence among school students. Will you take the challenge? Get involved. Take a stand. 100 Days, 100 Ways.
I bought smartboard, that's wrong.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to energy-saving bulbs. Saving energy saves you money. When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
Welcome back. We've got Mr. Ron Lee, Athletic and Compliance Director for Mobile County Public Schools. Before the break, we was talking about our coaches at each one of our schools. We'll go back to 7A where we left off, and we talked about Bryant and Baker, and Coach, we're going to talk about the rest of our schools, starting with Davidson.
Well, Coach Riley is a competitor and has been, and he's been coaching long enough to make it through the good and the bad times, in which last year, as with us, it was a rough season. You know, when I was at Murphy last year and Davidson, and it wasn't that we had bad football teams. And Coach Riley and I have spoken several times. Sometimes it's based on the competition that you go up against, and on Friday night, injuries are a huge part of it. But Coach Riley has coached at all levels, not just the high school level, has been at the college level, and so far he's got the Davidson Warriors playing top-notch ball.
Right. Then we got Mary Montgomery, got a new coach out there this year, Coach Dean.
We do, Coach Dean. One thing about Coach Dean is he is going to be intense. There's no lack of intensity, and that's what he wants his players to play that way. And having a chance to view it by live stream the other night. By the way, I got to throw a plug in for those guys. They did a tremendous job. I was all the way down to Bayou, but by way of the internet was able to watch the Mary Montgomery team play. But Coach Dean has those guys, they're playing extremely hard right now. They lost a heartbreaker the other night, and it did come down to the fourth quarter. And as a high school coach, that's all you can ask for. You can ask for your team to play its best, and when 4 quarters are over, you look up and see exactly how you did that night.
Right. Then we go to Murphy, your former school.
Murphy, Rick Colley is doing a great job. He's certainly not new at Murphy. He was an assistant there for 16 years. Rick played college ball, tremendous offensive mind, and as well as the overall scheme. He's not just stuck on offense. That guy's pretty good at what he does. But right now Murphy's playing well. Got some really good athletes returning. Their quarterback is already committed to Duke, which is something to say for him, not just as an athlete, but through academics as well. So, you know, they're going to be fine, I'm sure. But as with everybody else in Mobile, it's a battle to get in the playoff this year.
It is. Then we got Coach Collier down at Theodore.
Coach Collier is certainly not new to being a head coach, has had head coaching experience and has been around some great head coaches coming up. You know, was a part of Bryant, the transition when Bryant took over, and they took Grand Bay High School, which I was at the head coach at the time, and Alba High School, which Coach Odom was at the time, and Billy Odom coached in this town for a long time. And when you mesh those two communities together, and you're on a part of a staff that can bring 2 totally different cultures in and just beat everybody in town.
Yes.
So Coach Collier understands chemistry, and I think he's got his guys playing as well as they can right now. It's still early in the season, so all these teams are going to continue to improve.
And then we go down to 6A with Coach Hurt at Blunt, who comes from 2 great systems. He's been at Daphne, he's been at Prattville, so a lot of experience there that he brings to Blunt.
Tremendous amount of experience, and the cupboard certainly wasn't bare when he got there, and he hadn't missed a beat, you know. It's those guys. I watched them play we played against them last year, but I think the most interesting thing last year was his 9th grade team and his junior varsity. My goodness, they look like they could compete on Friday nights. And obviously they can, because they're winning, and it's those guys that are playing right now. So he's done a great job. He and his staff have done a great job continuing to keep them on a winning path.
Then we got Coach Gibson at Central Nell, who has been under some adverse conditions this year with the building of the new school. He's been from one end to the campus to the other, and it's been quite a transition and a lot of hardships for him this year.
You know, a lot of guys would have just folded under that. There's no doubt about it. That type of pressure, and what they're going to get at the end of the tunnel is going to be phenomenal. The school and the facilities is going to be updated, and they're going to be first class and everything. However, the pains that go through now, and he is experiencing that, and I can understand that a little bit, but his team has not complained one bit. They moved an entire weight room over into another area. The community got behind them. They've got brand new weights up there, brand new, and that's huge to a program to be able to work out like that. But they've had to move out of their locker room, but you know what? They go out and play every Friday night. Nobody's complaining, and they know in the end it's going to benefit the community way more. And that's what sports and athletics is about, is seeing the bigger picture, not just what's good for you at the time. And I think Coach Gibson's been the leader in that.
He's got a lot of experience, and I'm sure he's going to bring them around. And then we've got Coach Schamberger at LaFleur, who's gotten off to a good start this year.
Tremendous start, got those guys playing hard down there. I think he and his staff, you know, it's one of the schools, everybody likes to think they're community-based, but when you start looking at LaFleur, I feel like, you know, it dates back to Tolmanville area. So it's definitely community when it was Tolmanville High School and Central High School before that, and some of the tremendous coaches. Coach Jesse's been through there. So as long as they can continue to play hard, good football as they're doing and represent their community, once again, it goes back to leadership, what Coach Schamberger has provided for them.
And after this break, we'll be back and we'll talk about our 5A coaches. Thank you.
I saw Mr. Tillman's class. Just that quick little 5 minutes I had with him, made me think that I really wanted to do small engines. I just love tinkering with them, just a gearhead. Graduating from the Career Tech Center has allowed me to better myself, make more money, be more informed about the trade that I'm going to be in. I just felt like doing a trade is just better than working in an office or something. I have to be outside working with my hand or something.
MCPSS Career Tech. Start your future today.
For me, it started back in 1942 when my family moved to Mobile, and I began my high school career at Murphy High School. Today, it's so important to be able to ingrain in yourself what are you going to do in future life, and you need to be prepared. And so subsequently, everything at Murphy was very important in my life, and so it was instrumental in preparing me for future life and future profession that I wanted to be in.
Welcome back. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we're talking about our coaches here in our regions, and with 5A we've got BC Rains. Coach Taylor Stone.
Coach Stone got a chance to do something that hasn't been done at BC Rain the other night. He got to play a home game at Tremere Park when Mr. Furl said that he wanted his home stadium back, and has worked diligently with so much help from the mayor to Ms. Peak to Tommy Sheffield's department, and as well as yourself getting involved and coordinating that and getting the BC Rain Red Raiders back. And from what I understand, it wasn't just a football game that was played the other night, it was a homecoming.
It sure
there
was.
Were people from all classes showed up. Once again, I mean, that's what high school sports is about. It's not necessarily about winning. Everybody wants to win. But when you can get people dating back to the 60s to show up to a park, yeah, that's, and Coach Stone and Mr. Furl, Mr. Golden, the assistant principal, all those guys had a lot to do with making sure that that happened. And it's good. It becomes a social event when it's a neighborhood park hosting a football game.
There may have been a few bulbs out, but the Friday night lights were shining bright on
that is
on the
so
parkway.
true, yes.
It sure was good. Coach Williamson, Coach Sumter.
Coach Sumter is going through some times, as we do as coaches, when your school starts to change a little bit, but I'm not sure I've ever met anyone with a more positive personality than Coach Sumter. I've been to his practice, I watched him work those guys. I can promise you, you haven't heard the last of the Williamson Lions. They're going to be competitive every Friday night. He and his staff are doing a great job. Back to the numbers changing. You know, you lose a few here and there and you gain some students. But I can promise you, when the lights come on Friday, Coach Summers, his Williamson Lions are going to be ready to play.
They are. And of course, our last school, the Viger Woods with Coach Johnson, got off to a great start this year.
Tremendous. You know, that's one of the schools that they'll play. They don't care how many A's you have. I'm pretty sure if a junior college called him, Coach Johnson would sign up and he's ready to play them. He as well. You know, we always want to highlight the head coaches, but as with head coaches, they're only as good as their assistant coaches. And being a head coach for 20 years, I can tell you, it is not something you do by yourself. It is something that you have to have a lot of help with, and Coach Johnson has a tremendous staff out there, and that's why they win on Friday night.
Exactly. Coach, we got about 4 minutes here. I want to talk a little bit about your job. Involves a lot of working with the Alabama High School Athletics Association, which is our governing body here in the state of Alabama for athletics. You want to talk a little bit about your relationship and working with the Alabama High School Athletics Association?
Well, yeah. No organization is good without rules and regulations, and Mr. Savarese and his staff in Montgomery does it, and they have a tremendous job trying to keep all the athletics, not just football, but for every sport. If you're a member school, you have to adhere to those guidelines, and they are a tremendous resource. It's not an organization that's out to get you. It's an organization that's out to help athletics, and I would hate to know that we tried to have athletics in this state without that organization.
Coach, talk a little bit about the C2C real briefly. I know you could do a whole show on this, but we got 3 minutes about the C2C and how it has changed as far as keeping up with eligibility.
Sure. C2C is now a computer-generated program, and which does track not only eligibility, it tracks your latest physical. It tracks whether you have all your concussion documentation, which is crucial now with everything we're doing. But I think the largest thing it does is it tracks whether or not a child is on track for graduation. And we can play all the football, baseball, basketball games, volleyball we want, but the name of the game is to get these young men and young women graduated through high school, to give them an opportunity to be successful. And that's one of the biggest things that C2C has provided for us.
And it is slowly changing. It seems like they add more to it every year, don't they?
It is, and I think it's going to continue to. It's frustrating in one stage because it is a learning curve that we're all going through. But on the other side of that coin, Mr. Savarese and his crew understand that it's about children, and it's about making sure that everything that they need to have, that they're given that opportunity.
And a good majority of your job has been with C2C, especially with the middle schools, going and working with them, hasn't it?
It is. For the middle school, it's been a blessing and a curse. It's been a monster, and we have found some things that based on how the grading system were, that we had to go in and correct. We didn't change grades, but we had to change the way the grades were generated for them to get their credits that C2C would pick up and help those children become eligible through the new program.
Real quick here, Coach, we got 1 minute. Real briefly, the other component to all this, the clearinghouse.
Wow. Clearinghouse, you're not going to play at the next level unless you are squared away with the NCAA Clearinghouse. They are the governing body that gets high school athletes to college athletes. Once again, I think that's a whole nother show that we could go and talk about the components of a parent's responsibility to the NCAA Clearinghouse. You can go online and learn all you can imagine about the NCAA Clearinghouse.
And we do have that on our website, so if you'd like to learn more about the Clearinghouse, we do have a site there that you can go to and learn more about it. Ron, I appreciate you coming by today. Our system is lucky to have this man. He is full of knowledge, and he's been a great help since he's come on, I think, in February, and we appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for watching today, and for Coach Lee, this is Calvin Chris. We'll see you next week.